Welcome to the Renaissance Tourism Podcast. In today's episode, I will be discussing the potential future of Egypt. Egypt has existed for at least 3,100 years, or from the year 3,100 BC, I should say to be more accurate. That's over 5,000 years. They are the world's oldest ethnicity. These are the Egyptians, only joined by the Persians and the Chinese in regards to how long they've existed in terms of a political and social continuity. In terms of political and social continuity and social norm govern each nation society, uh, their actual continuity is very short. For example, the current continuity of the United Kingdom dates back to the Magna Carta, which was signed in 1215 by King John of England. In comparison, the nation of Egypt, in terms of political continuity, goes back to the 2013 coup d'etat. The event ended with the 2013 coup d'etat after mass protests across Egypt demanding a president's immediate resignation. The parties rallied to respond to the Temrod on strict grassroots movements launched petitions in April 2013 calling for Morsi and his government to step down. Political continuity is important because it gives business, people, and nations population security. With the political institutional system, it gives society a sense of legitimacy and permanence. With the security, businesses will feel it's safe to do business, and ordinary people can live their lives without fearing violence caused by political instability. For instance, in France, in the United Kingdom, in the United States of America, fantastic political continuity, and a coup d'etat such as what happens in Niger on the 26th of July 2023 when the country's president, Mohamed Bazoum, Presidential Guard General, I'm going to spell his name and I just have to say it. That's his name, TCHINI, proclaimed himself the leader of a new military junta shortly after confirming the coup was successful. So that's not something that will happen in Western nations particularly. Now we're going to talk about industrialization and the River Nile. It's a common saying based on fact that the Nile is Egypt and Egypt is the Nile. The statement is also reiterated by the historian Herodotus, who wrote that Egypt was the gift of the Nile. Unfortunately, the River Nile is under grave threat due to climate change, industrialization, and Ethiopia altering the flow of the River Nile so they can access more water sources, which could lead to war between Egypt and Ethiopia. The reason for this is most of the settlements in Egypt along the River Nile. Without the River Nile, Egypt ceases to exist, and thereby making its Egypt's national interest, like Ethiopia, if it must, to maintain existence and start the world's first water war. Egypt started the process of industrialization in the 1920s and is highly underdeveloped in terms of it becoming an industrialized nation, even in the present time. During the age of globalization, which the United States created in the aftermath of World War II, Egypt focused on cash crops rather than grain to feed their population. Instead, they focused on crops that would generate excess revenue, which could be used to purchase other commodities, including grain. Egypt typically bought grain from Russia and Ukraine, with the Ukraine war becoming an interstate war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, and with the Russian invasion directly of Ukraine in February 22. What this means for the Egyptians was that they've lost the Ukrainians as a supplier of grain, and potentially the Russians as well as military activity heating up in the Black Sea, also affecting shipping lanes. Bread in Egypt is also heavily subsidized, the available cash crops being far more valuable. International markets well mean that Egypt's have not been growing their grain because they can get it cheaper, more financially effective than other international markets, as I said before, Russia and Ukraine. According to a new report by Reuters, under the existing program, more than 60 million Egyptians, or nearly two-thirds of the population, get 5 loaves of round bread daily for 50 cents a month. Little change since the countrywide bread riots since the Ache in 1970. Geopolitical analyst Arthur Peter Zeihan stated that the carrying capacity in terms of food supply for Egypt is not enough to sustain the Egyptian population, especially with the Russian and Ukraine green markets no longer available for the Egyptian population. Also, the rise of global sea levels and Egyptian settlements taking up more and more space, which traditionally would have been used for grain growth. The Egyptian position regarding their food supply is worsening. Also, the Egyptian population has doubled the actual capacity of Egyptian to sustain its current population, according to Peter Zillan. Egypt is also facing a famine event which will be biblical regarding its destructiveness. The world also cannot supply ships with the grain to feed Egypt, potentially starving the population. Also, rising sea levels could potentially destroy the Nile Delta, displacing Egypt's population or even killing half of the population, worsening Egypt's climate crisis, making the Middle East and North Africa increasingly unstable. Unfortunately for Egypt and the Egyptians does not have access to the rest of the Middle East, even potential migrations into mainland continental Europe will not be an option as well. Egypt may die screaming of starvation, but it's a problem that is sadly contained to Egypt. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope you found it interesting and informative. Please take care and happy start to the new year.